Hello and welcome to our Australian market updates. I'm Remi Marcelin. I'm the marketing manager here at People to People, and today we'll be talking about change fatigue. So, what is the real impact of change fatigue on business performance? So, this week we'll be joined by Tarran Deane, a transformation specialist based in Brisbane, to unpack the growing challenge of change fatigue and its impact on workplace performance. We'll also explore why this phenomenon has become one of the biggest barriers to organizational success, the real consequences it has on productivity and engagement, and what leaders can do to recognize and manage it effectively. Also on today's show, we'll be looking at the on-the-job experience versus formal qualifications and discuss whether employers prefer one or the other. We'll also explore our latest job opportunities across Australia. And lastly, we'll be revealing our new social media insights around the use of AI in hiring processes. So beautiful. So last week, our survey revealed that 44% of HR leaders identified change fatigue as their top organizational barrier in 2025. With constant shifts in business strategy, in technology and market demands, many organizations may be struggling with change fatigue without even realizing it. So as companies navigate ongoing transformation, employees can feel overwhelmed, they can feel disengaged or resistant to change, which is impacting productivity and morale. So recognizing the signs early can really help leaders to manage change effectively and support their workforce. So to discuss this further, we are joined today by Tarran Deane, transformation specialist. So welcome, Tarran, and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Remi. It's a pleasure to be with you.
So my very first question is, what exactly is change fatigue first, and why do you believe it is becoming such a major issue in today's workplace?
It's a really great question. And imagine, if you will, that change is not unlike people driving cars out on the road, and the cars represent change. Often people are turning up to work. They've got just enough fuel in the tank to get to work and to start their day, but they may not have enough fuel in the tank to actually complete their journey or to complete their change initiatives. So many people actually pull off or they exit workplaces ahead of time, trying their best to stay aware and ahead of this rolling implementation of change. Sometimes it's a single change with a multi-month deployment. For others, it's ongoing layers of change with different initiatives and demands on their time from a business as usual perspective, and they're just running out of fuel in the tank. So we often see that change fatigue turns up with psychosocial issues. I know that's a consideration for an organisation I worked with about a year ago, where the enterprise agreement was coming due. Unionisation was asking questions about consultation and what constituted mandatory change, such as retiring systems, where it was not negotiable. These types of changes, in conjunction with what's going on in real life, whether it's a weather event or a political environment, or even wars or rumours of wars, weigh down heavily on people with a range of responsibilities before they even get in their car and turn up at work.
Thank you. You talked about like stress levels and burnout.
Yeah.
So I know one of the questions I had for you was, so for that topic, what roles does leadership play in preventing and managing not just change fatigue but burnout in the workplace when implementing organizational changes?
Well, as we've just mentioned about cars running low on fuel, leaders themselves have a limited amount of energy and reserves, right? So it's incumbent upon them first up to take good self-care. And I highly recommend leaders that are leading change as active sponsors of change, make sure they have a circle of 5 people around them that help them stay topped up in their tank, if you will, keep them accountable to keeping the car, the change, serviced and staying on the road to get to their change destination. And often the ways that they can do that is to make sure that they've got the right people in the right roles, assisting in the right ways at the right time. For myself as an enterprise change practitioner with ProSci, I find leveraging frameworks really support my leaders to get traction on change, to reduce those stressors, because they know what's coming down the pipeline or what's coming down the road. They're able to look at real-time data as it impacts people's journey through the change life cycle, from preparing, managing and sustaining change, and even where some of those roadblocks are, or if people are going constantly through roundabouts and what appears to be resistance, can actually highlight some real opportunities to investigate the numbers deeply, and as a leader to determine what adjustments might need to happen while a change is taking place, and to examine, is there in fact not just change fatigue as a result of change that could have been done differently, but change saturation, because there's multiple demands on the same people that are being impacted by change.
Thank you. And beyond beyond burnout, stress levels, etc., would you have, I don't know, I don't want to put you on the spot and ask you for numbers, but would you have examples of like a case where change fatigue clearly affected the business performance or productivity in one workplace?
Yeah, I was considering recently the example of Qantas Airlines when, through a parliamentary inquiry, the Australian government looked into the Qantas change management decision to outsource maintenance to another country. And that actually brought up quite a lot of fear for current Australian employees of Qantas regarding job loss. What did that mean? As mentioned, as someone that uses a recognised framework, I look at change through the lens of 10 aspects of a person's job impacted by change, from system to processes, technologies, tools, mindset, critical behaviours. That is, how do people turn up, turn on and turn out at work? In the example of Qantas, that was very challenging, because not only did that change fatigue manifest as workers taking union action and being significantly weighed down by the ramifications of potential safety issues, it also flowed on to us as Australian consumers, impacting the brand of the company and passenger confidence. It also impacted shareholders and got the government involved. So this aspect of change fatigue isn't just about me as an individual on the receiving end of change, but the myriad of other stakeholders that are also impacted if change is not done in a careful, methodical way that recognises change happens one person at a time. And we need to look at resistance to change not as someone being a squeaky wheel or being a problem, but actually to investigate, does this concern of theirs have merit? What long-range issues can this cause us as a business, and thereby derail us achieving those business objectives?
And obviously, in the last couple of years, the economic situation in Australia has not been the greatest. Do you think that when market uncertainty is rising, there's even more, like we should even, like the focus should be even more on change fatigue, because this is when organizational changes happen in a market that's already quite uncertain, it creates even more uncertainty. And as you said, like some people immediately think about job losses, redundancies, etc. So do you think in a market where things are very uncertain, it's even more important?
Yeah, very much so. It's critically important when you consider the last 5 years for us as a country and for other nations around the world. We're in the aftermath of COVID, of 2 to 3 years of changed working environments. That brings with it a lot of its own issues for our employees, contractors, the talents that we may be pursuing to fill tomorrow's needs, tomorrow's gaps in our workforce delivery. So how can we get better at managing those changes? I think, the great work that you folks are doing in your business to carefully consider how you manage the change process when it comes to candidate experience, how you manage the employer experience when processing candidates for roles that they're advertising. If we can take care to understand that in keeping with our commitment to a values-based organisation, which is where my heart and business commitment lies, is to consider through every stage of that change journey, whatever it might be, workforce, attraction of staff, technical rollout, retirement of a system, mergers, acquisitions, consider again that time and tried and tested tool of ADKAR, where we're considering awareness and desire and knowledge, ability and capacity to reinforce a change. Start with the end in mind by identifying what does successful change look like and what's going to stop us from getting there, what's going to damage our people.
And obviously, when implementing change, some of the key players are leaders and managers. So what are some of the most common mistakes you've seen managers and leaders make when implementing change? Well, when implementing change within their business?
Yeah, look, it's a great question, and I gave this a little bit of thought ahead of our time together today. So I've jotted down a couple of bullet points to make sure I don't miss these. One of the things, segueing from what we just spoke about, is starting with the end in mind. So don't underestimate the importance of the business case. As a leader, have clarity around what good looks like. What's your end game? And to that end, I'd also encourage you to not make this mistake, which is don't intend to overburden your existing employees who will be on the receiving end of change as an impact, or be invited to become power users or change champions for a number of different change initiatives your business might be rolling out. So when you're reviewing your business case, I would suggest to you that you really consider ensuring that for every employee that you are looking to participate and support change, even if you bring someone like me in as a strategic senior change practitioner or a transformation specialist, that our job is to engage with your stakeholders. So we need to make sure they have a buffer of availability that doesn't overburden them so that you don't inadvertently derail your business case. A couple of other things that I've got is don't underutilize your company values. Make sure that you're cascading those through as a point of unity around expected behaviours when you're accommodating changes in the workplace. And don't neglect employee feedback once those participants are sharing. Consider it through a positive bias, a trust bias, as opposed to a negative bias that says that's the squeaky wheel and they're never going to be happy, because I think that's a missed opportunity. And the very premise of always communicating why, as Simon Sinek says, and really consider what's our capacity, what are the not negotiables that we need to implement to meet our strategic and organisational objectives for the current fiscal year, what's coming down the pipeline with retirement of systems that we need to look into right now. And one of the other things, I think, Remi, is celebrating change. If leaders get good at celebrating the milestone achievements that their people make, then talent feels recognised, and that in itself can be a form of reward and also a talent retention strategy. So I see that as a really unique opportunity as we head into the next few months of the financial year, and people, leaders, have an opportunity to cascade the purpose, the why of change across the whole leadership spectrum, from the board right through to the front line.
Thank you. And I have one very final question for you. So obviously
Yes,
we already have we already have quite a lot of great takeaways from you, but if you had just one last piece of advice to give to leaders who are currently dealing with disengaged or exhausted teams due to frequent changes, what would be this piece of advice?
the number one thing would be to acknowledge change fatigue. When we acknowledge where our workforce and our colleagues are at. I think that does a lot to let people know that they're being heard. And in the instances where there is a not negotiable change, like I just alluded to, such as a system retirement, it's really having the courage as a senior leader to determine whether or not the change can proceed. And when we describe change, we're also talking about the rollout of a technology or a move, for example. But having the vulnerability as a leader to acknowledge change fatigue openly and invite people through consultation to be part of the solution, so that we're not seeking to rescue employees, we're seeking to build change capability and capacity, ensuring that our team are accountable to the organisational values and that your organisation is positioned to achieve successful outcomes.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Tarran. It was a
You're
pleasure to
welcome.
have you.
Thank
We really
you.
hope to see you again on one of our market updates very soon. And if anyone wants to reach out to Tarran, her website is right down below, so tarrandeane.com. Yeah, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so now onto our by the numbers section. So hiring trends are shifting, with on-the-job experience now carrying more weight than formal qualifications. So a recent survey found that 55% of employers and 67% of employees believe experience is more valuable than a degree, and 70% of job seekers agree. So with Australia job market evolving rapidly, traditional degree-based hiring is becoming less relevant, especially as some formal education struggles to keep up with innovations like AI. Employers increasingly see practical experience as a stronger indicator of job readiness, as candidates with hands-on skills can adapt faster and integrate more easily into workplace dynamics. This shift is also driven by recruitment challenges. As businesses struggle to find quality candidates, those who bring fresh perspective and adapt well to training. So relying solely on degrees may limit the talent pool, prompting 76% of employers to enhance their learning and development programs to train hires on the job. A skills-first hiring approach not only improves performance, but also creates more equitable job opportunities, ensuring a more adaptable and capable workforce. So are you looking to take the next step of your career? So this week's latest job opportunities are presented by the 2025 Market Report Survey. So if you want to have your say on the future of work and help us identify salary trends, talent attraction, and retention strategies in your industry, please visit our website, peopletopeople.com.au. So some of the key job opportunities available this week are HR manager role based in Brisbane, a legal assistant role for the property space based in Melbourne, a lawyer position in Sydney, and finally an accountant position in Adelaide. Now, if you are looking to grow your career or your team, our teams across New Zealand, Australia, and the UK can help you find a job you love or find the right talent for your business and get you on track for 2025. Reach out to us via our website, so peopletopeople.com.au, and our teams will come back to you as soon as we can. Thank you for joining us today, and see you next week.